Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to VRL Polaris here in the UK and Nordics region. Now, we just watched the battle for top two, the battle, which could potentially decide who finishes first overall. And now we go to the other side of the leaderboard. Unfortunately, it's the battle for bottom place. My name's Naya Kai, joined with the lovely Namazuki as per usual. And Sam, this one's a completely different game.
Yeah, I mean, this is a whole other story, especially when you consider how well Alliance did in the last split. But we'll talk about them in a moment. Of course, it's H2O who I think are a big talking point here because much like Alliance, they also had a huge roster reshuffle. If I'm not mistaken, they had maybe 2 players from their last roster remain, and well, unfortunately, they just have not been getting the results that they would have wanted to accomplish in this split. In fact, they're looking very similar to what we saw in the previous split, and it's a little disappointing.
It's unfortunate. I mean, they're currently sitting 0-3. The record's not exactly where they want it to be, and they're one of those sides who they got relegated from Split 1 and finishing, rock bottom, and then they made it through that promotional tournament. They lost the Hookahs in the upper bracket and they ended up beating Divinity 2-0 to guarantee their spot in that lower bracket. But, it's one of those teams that from last season had a really kind of rough run, and it started off quite rough in towards split number 2 again. And, it's a really uncomfortable position for them to be in.
Yeah, and I have a lot of question marks coming into this as well, because we also saw H2O running some very interesting compositions in the last split, most notable, of course, being the Omen on Icebox. So I'll be curious to see if they're going to do some similar things here, and that was Jaff, and he's, of course, one of the remaining players from the previous roster. But as I mentioned, there's a whole team of new players here for this H2O roster. They have had some moments of, good showings over the last few weeks, but it hasn't been exceptional. They have yet to win a map, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you're
right.
I mean,
it's been very, very rough going. Yeah, they made it through the qualifier. They were relegated from the previous season. So they, of course, got to skip most of that malarkey. But unfortunately, maybe it was necessary, maybe they should have had a little bit more of that practice time in officials. We know that scrims are the practice arena. It's where you get those strats down.
Precisely.
But officials is where you practice them a little bit more seriously, where you really hone them and where you really perfect them, because that's where the pressure's on. And unfortunately, they didn't have those matches. They dived straight in with a brand new roster, much like Alliance, and it hasn't worked out for them, much like Alliance.
Yeah, and speaking of, let's take a look at Alliance. I mean, they're currently sitting in 7th place. They've got a joint record of 0-3. It's not going too great as we stand. Again, also yet to pick up a map as well, as they've had 2-0 losses to Hookahs, Human Tripwires, then Excel most recently. I mean, it's been a really rough start for them compared to last season, as you mentioned, where they were one of those sides who made it through to playoffs, and they were one of the higher seeded sides, ended up finishing 4th overall, netting themselves 2,750 euros. But it's those big roster changes, isn't it? That's what's made the difference. They're kind of yet to settle into their kind of comfortability.
And I think another really important thing to note as well, you could see Desmo and Soren don't have pictures. They are subs.
Yeah.
Sort of. Because Desmo's the coach. Things have been a little rough for Alliance this season. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to play with their full roster. And that is a huge issue for any team. I mean, we saw it with Sentinels recently in VCT. They played with 2 subs. We saw it with Fnatic in Champs. They had to play with 2 subs. They didn't even make it out of groups. So something like that, even when you're a new team, you still have that little bit of synergy built up, and you're kind of hoping to press on with it. And unfortunately, the little bit that they had now falls and crumbles away because they have to play with 2 subs. It's not a great position to be in. That being said, we do have to point out Cider and Nilla. Cider, of course, left over from the last Alliance roster. They're building around him. They're focusing on a more Nordic-centric team. And by that, of course, we have a full Danish roster. It was the Battle of the Danes last week, week before, the Danish derby. And of course, Nilla, who was yoinked from then Tundra. Of course, this is now the finest roster, but they yoinked him away, and he's been an exceptional player. He's the only player on the team who throughout stage 2 has a 1.0 KDA. I mean, that is ridiculous. That's 7 games in stage 2. and he has a 1.0 KDA. He has been such a phenomenal player for this team, a great pickup, but unfortunately, it hasn't been enough. The hurdles they have to overcome, it's not enough to get through with just that one absolutely star-studded player.
Oh, exactly that. It's one of those things where, one person can't do the whole story. And Nilla's been brilliant in his own regard, but it's 5 people, right? It's asking too much of him to be able to deliver each and every game, in a superb standard, essentially, where he's able to carry this team across the line. It just asks just a little bit too much. And for Alliance, it's kind of like that stark reality from last season to this season. But I want your predictions on the vetoes. This is something we need to kind of get a sort of a talk about. What do you think we're heading towards? Because this is a completely different Alliance roster.
Well, this is the thing that makes it incredibly difficult to even start to guess at. I mean, we can take a look at what they've played so far in Polaris, which is not a hell of a lot, and they haven't won a single map with this roster. It's kind of anyone's game at this point. The only 2 maps that they haven't played at all are Icebox and Fracture, so very likely one of those is going to be their insta-ban. We take a look at H2O, who also, new team, also haven't played a hell of a lot of map or a hell of a lot of games. They have actually won some matches, it seems. Probably, obviously, much have been in the promotion tournament a little bit earlier on. So they do have a few wins under their belt, and those would be on, well, across most of the maps, in fact. But the 2 maps where they have the fewest wins are, well, Bind and Fracture. So sorry, Neo, I don't think we're going to Fracture today. I hate to break it to you.
Yeah, I really do hate to say it. But let's take a look at what we actually will be getting. We can make our predictions. Maybe we're wrong. Potentially a Fracture, please. The gods above. Will we see it? And no. Ascent, Bind, and Split is your 3 maps for today. Of course, Ascent selected by H2O, Bind selected by Alliance. And if we get there, our decider once again is Split. We didn't see it in the first series, but potentially we could see it in series number 2.
And this is interesting because if we're taking a look at just stage 2, it's actually Icebox that's been H2O's best map. Yeah. So to see them not pick into that, maybe they're a little nervous to take Ascent on it, but like I said, to take Alliance on it. But as you mentioned, Alliance, it's one of the maps that they haven't even played as a newly formed unit. And maybe that's, what they're kind of leaning into. They're trying to play them on a map that they're not super familiar with and see if they can get away with that. And I think that could work out very well for them. This is a pretty good, pretty standard map set as well. It's something that you would more or less expect from 2 teams who are a little bit, they're not quite synergized yet, right?
Yeah,
so they're still kind of... Yeah, they're trying to still find their footing. Ascent, one of the most straightforward maps that you can get. Bind and Split, they're 2 of the oldest maps, and they're maps that teams, for some reason, seem to... I mean, I hate them. I think Bind and Split are terrible. But, teams do seem to lean into them when they're a little less synergized than what they could be. And maybe it's because the gimmicky parts of the map aren't as intense as what you would find on some other maps. Haven with 3 bomb sites. That's huge. Split's got some ropes. It's not quite as daunting as some of the other maps could be.
Hey, then ropes can cause problems. I'm just throwing it out there. But no, yeah, exactly that. We have to start focusing our minds towards map number 1. But of course, before we do, we take a look at the agents. And hey, the Neon's coming out, and so is the Fade.
Yes! Okay, so we don't get Fracture, but we get Neon, and we get Fade, and I'm really excited because this is the first time I get to cast Fade. I've done Neon once or twice in the past, but I'm finally getting to cast Fade, and I actually cosplayed her on a Game Changers
I saw that
recently. Yeah, so I'm a big Fade fan. Looking forward to seeing what Cider is going to be able to do with that. Of course, Desmo going to be on the Omen. And, it makes sense. The coach taking a slightly more supportive role.
Yes.
What's really interesting for me is Jaff on the Neon. And now this isn't the first time that he's played the Neon. In fact, he's been kind of leaning into it. When I say leaning into it, he's played it once. But if they have a Neon player, it's going to be Jaff. And so it's interesting to me that that's the player they choose to do it, because historically he's been their smoker.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those players who I think it's safe to say he's versatile, right? It's not a bad way to put it. He can kind of do it all. And, well, this time he's going for that Neon selection. It is a quite an interesting selection we've got on board here. Of course, as we mentioned, the Fade. First time for me as well, covering Fade and Neon as well. Haven't really seen too much of it. It's one of the least picked agents, generally speaking, at the moment. So, should be interesting. Now, Jaff's going to go aggressive. Already just testing those wards over towards B. Jaff just full sending it, and he's already closed out so much of this control, and he's already found a bit of a pathway in towards his B side. Now, the question is, where does this retake come from? Halfway in behind, looking for something himself. Desmo just going to take a step away, doesn't want to overextend. That's a smart way for him to play it. Neela, a lot of presence on his back as he has to deny this presence over towards the B side, and he's going aggressive, looking for something, spotting the first, taking a step away. Frenzy, trying to close down this space. Yaf won't be able to deliver as Neela comes out on top. Brilliant from him, but he's only good for one. This time, Cider has to come up huge with a Fade in hand, and he's caught with Yuto in hand, with just about manages to stay alive. Classic coming out, good for one, looking for the second, running out of bullets. Reload will come through, looking for that second. How?
I love that we both have the same reaction to that. How does he live for so long? How do three players funnel into him in an archway? Look at this. Okay, I actually wish we had this in slow motion because this is absurd. What? 3 kills with the, oh man, no, you can't analyze that round. That
I was
round
gonna
is
say, I don't envy you. trying to analyze that as a color, it's a tough task. It's a brutal one to say the least. Cybra, and they line up. They never should line up as well. I mean, there's 2 entry points. Come on now, just double swing him. It's a rookie mistake, and it's so costly. Alliance, good start though. First round on the board. And one thing to mention as well, as is H2O's pick, you know, losing this map, I mean, this could essentially be the win factor.
Alright, a little bit of a force there for Alliance. Makes sense. Oh, Alex, gotta get spotted out over towards mid here. But I do like this from H2O. They know that they've lost the first round. They don't have a ton of firepower, so they're going to slow things down a little bit, see if they can garner some information. But look at this crossfire setup here. This is going to be devastating if they push through.
Still, slower tempo here. I mean, Alliance still holding and waiting. Crossfire set off. Neela taking the initial bit of contact, but they go straight to a Cedar. Good for one. Looking to make it yet another, and he can just deny this presence. Alarm block can come online as well if they want to, and Riyadh won't be able to fall off. Neela comes up for his own. Got Murrell spotted. They're still trying to make their way slowly over towards his A side. But Desmo, the coach, coming up clutch as Alex will fall one by one. They're just being picked apart. The beauty of a flash. But a nice right click. Dink on the second. Neela will trade. And just that, Sam, it's Yaf, all alone.
Well, not too sure how much he's going to be able to accomplish here with just a classic, although that being said, we've seen what Cider can do with a classic. There you go, that's going to be a good start to it. It is only the second player to fall for Alliance. I mean, there's no way he gets the plant here. Would have liked to have gotten 1 or 2, you know, exit frags, but it's going to be Neela who manages to get the nice little 3k there at the end of the round to round it off. Now, this is where things should turn in H2O's favor, theoretically.
Yeah.
We're able to buy into the full rifles here. I mean, you know, it was the force for Alliance, and I think what's critical about that round is that with H2O getting a couple of kills, they do make it a unfavorable bonus for Alliance. With the 2 pistols there, as opposed to having full Spectres, that does at least give them a chance.
Gives them a chance, and this sort of bonus here, going aggressive. So, I love this. Spotting the barrel, good for the first. Yap will fall. That's an important kill. And he's looking to try and find one more, but he's instantly traded. Desmo stepping up huge with a ghost in hand. But they've made their way easily over towards his A site. Now it's all about this retake. Numbers favor Alliance, but the firepower doesn't. They've only got 1 Vandal to work with.
And Cider being offline, not great for Alliance. They still have Nilla, but Nilla's just got a ghost. Desmo's managed to pick up a Vandal for himself, as you mentioned, so there's going to be a little bit of extra firepower there. Not too sure you want to give that to the coach. We'll see if he can come up big on that one. It is so rough for Alliance, but they're at least off to a decent start here, despite the difficulties they're facing.
Yeah, potentially as well, they might even, I was going to say test the waters with a save call. Desmo will fall though, and that's the rifle off the books. They're trying to at least make this costly. Can they? If they can ask it for one, make that a second. Close things out as H2O with the first round on the board on their first full buy, but it is made expensive. Only 2 remain alive.
Oh, this is good. This is what they needed to keep themselves in it. You know, as we mentioned, this is the battle of the two teams that have not had the best run so far in Polaris. So, you know, one of them gonna be trying to maybe claw their way back in if possible. We'll see if we'll see which team manages to triumph here. This is going to be an interesting one because, of course, Soren is picked into the operator. There's a lot of firepower behind that. He is posted up towards B, though, which means that this could be a good opportunity to make a push towards A. But look at how heavily defended A is. Look at all of that utility that's available as well. Alliance have done a very good job at pretty much shutting down this map.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really nice defensive setup from them. And of course, it sort of allows them to be very passive in their nature and kind of give up a lot of the space over towards H2O and sort of invite that pressure that we've seen previously. It's a nice way for them to play it. Still, and again, Yaf going to go aggressive. Neon clearing up so many of these angles so easily as you just dash your way forward, cutting on a lot of the space here and wants to try and close that door, at least denies the transition back over towards this A site once again. The spikes are probably planted momentarily. They've got that control. This is going to be a 5v5 retake, and it's going to be a tough one, to say the least, for Alliance.
Well, I'm not a fan of these 5v5 retakes.
No.
We'll see what does come about, as of course the lockdown's going to come through with nothing. Oh, there you go, Hunter's Fury. I was about to say nothing to counter it, but the Hunter's Fury comes out, does manage to destroy it, so Regan Anas does have a spot, only able to get one, as now the fear comes through.
Yeah, fear coming in, Cloudburst as well to just deny Recon Dolphin finding too much. So much utility expended here to try and make their way towards this retake, but Yap gonna fall. The guy who opened up this site's dropped, and this now becomes a really uncomfortable situation. Malfoy just toying with Alex, but he pays the price for exactly that. Cedar was good for 3, that's all he's good for. With 2 remaining alive, H2O tie this game up 2 rounds apiece.
That's a bit unfortunate for Alliance. You know, they invest the Nightfall, they invest quite a bit into that, the lockdown as well, and still not quite able to come out on top of that. I will say, Cider committed the Nightfall as the round was ending, and he already has 3 more old orbs. I mean, this dude has just been absolutely insane for this team. We'll see if he can keep that up here, as now, unfortunately, Alliance going to be back down onto a pistol round for the most part, as a cheeky judge is going to come out to chill out over onto the B site. We'll see if there's... It looks like there might be a little bit of aggression out of mid as well. And Alliance not playing one of these super fast-paced pistol rounds. They want to make this expensive for H2O. They want to get a few kills if they can.
Yeah, and they've done it before as well, haven't they? We've seen them with kind of less than adequate buys at least sort of test those waters and try and find something. And as we stand, it's not a bad way for them to play. Kind of, once again, invite that pressure, but there is kind of that risk to inviting the pressure that we saw previously in round number 4, where they were more than happy to allow H2O all of that map control, but they just capitalized on it oh so well. They gave them the A site, and they made that retake more or less impossible. And this kind of the double-edged sword of doing that. Crossfires are great, but it's not always going to be working out as you expect it to.
Yeah, I think with just pistols here for Alliance, it's going to be tough to come back into this. Now, H2O have given away a little bit of the information as to where they are, but again, what realistically are Alliance going to be able to do about this? There's also Alex on a bit of a lurk as well to pincer in. This is going to be rough.
Yeah, this is not exactly where you want to be. See, they're still getting close and personal with the judge. This could cause an issue or two. He's low on HP, but this is the position you want to be in. Spamming through, and he pays the price for exactly that. Desmo, good for one of his own. Looks to make another bit. Soaring up for 1, but only 3-2. H2O, for the first time in this game, they take a lead.
Well, they wanted to keep it expensive. Unfortunately, it wasn't as expensive as they would have liked. They only managed to take out 1 player. And that's going to be super easy to replace that weapon. Get that back into a pretty decent situation. Staff with an attack judge. Now, I've heard of the jet judge, but the neon judge is a new one. And I can also see that being just as terrifying. He is postured over towards the A site, though, and there's a potential paranoia to come through as well to kind of combo with it, but there's no one there. The push is over towards B, and of course that fade gets all the information that is needed. And that's going to force H2O to, once again, slow things down.
You are divided! There we go!
Well, let's see how it works. Still trying to make his way forward. Is kept at bay for the time being. Wall will come up, and now once again doing exactly what he needs to. Going to close that door, trying to go aggressive. Just popped. But it's Nilo immediately puts him in his brace. Quick trade coming forward. There's a 2-for-2 over towards this B side. Shock Dart come through. Cedar, who was so good from this position. Good once again. Shock doesn't quite find his position. And Cedar, another kill in his name. Riyadh, unfortunately, gets domed out of it. The flank is huge. Alex labored spray, though. He's only good for one. It's Alex now in a 1 versus 2. Desmo and Cedar defined. Spike dropped. And 45 seconds on the clock.
That's what I said about Cider. When he's alive, magic happens. It's going to be Desmo that gets the final kill of the round there. But Cider does so much in that round to just keep the ball rolling, to just keep them alive for that little bit longer. 3-3. It's back and forth. It's scrappy. It's pretty much what we expected from these two rosters as we came into this. There you go. Cider in the boathouse. And more
Brilliant.
Iconic duo.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff there.
He's been getting away with murder. He never should have. I mean,
Absolutely.
We cast our minds back to the pistol, and then that again. Yeah, the first kill's great, but the second, he never should get away with it.
Let's play.
I'm interested to see how H2O are going to play this one. As now, of course, Tour de Force is going to come out. So that's going to give them that little bit of firepower. They've sent Jaff in as the tip of the spear. Oh, there we go. Opens it up beautifully, taking out the counter duelist.
Well, I mean, it does take a bit of damage, though. Does need to be careful. Might be kept in his place by that small bit of utility. But all that Desmo, the coach caught off guard. Good trade, though, coming through. Malfoy looking for 2. We'll find it. Delivers brilliantly. Oh, so cautious of the aggression through Garden. But Fake Ananasi's still just slowly shifting his way forward. Hadi spotted out. Snyder coming up huge as well. Leaving it all down to one man. And a 1 versus 3 Fake Ananas. This asks so much of him. But I don't think they know exactly where he is. I don't think they even realized how deep into their backlines he's got.
Unfortunately, the Unreal Pineapple is not going to get much done. There you go. You know what? That's what happens when you bring a fruit to a gunfight.
Exactly that. 4-3. Alliance take that lead once again. It's kind of similar to game number 1, Sam. It's very even to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we were saying, right? Back and forth and very scrappy, and it's more or less what we thought was going to come through on this one, because these are, again, two pretty new rosters. Alliance playing with 2 subs. It's not a great position, and I think it's also really rough because you know that if you lose this one, then you're basically out of contention for playoffs. So they have to keep this as competitive as humanly possible, and I think that that's a lot of pressure on the 2 Alliance subs as well. You have to make sure that you're doing your absolute best, otherwise you're letting down a team that's not even your team. There's a lot going into this, and I don't know. I predicted Alliance to come out on top of it, and I think my heart's kind of behind them a little bit. Biased caster, it is what it is.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. The buy over towards H2O's not too pretty. I mean, Alex has got himself a bundle to work with. Sword Bass won't grab a pistols. Not exactly where they want to be. Swinging in, though. Neela. Not be shot from him. Alarmbot can just deny that presence once again. And a recon will come through, and it could spot out something. Destroyed immediately, though. And the Alarmbot will just, or the Swarm Grenade, may I say, will just keep them at bay. It just denies, again, that kind of control in towards Garden. And this crossfire set up by Alliance has given them all that they need to go to now. But Alex has once again stuck his way through. This A side is becoming a big vulnerability consistently because he might get into the backlines.
There you go. That's going to be a nice little kill there. And somehow has managed to survive despite a lot of firepower getting tossed in there. But of course, H2O here on the pistol. Gonna make something happen. Oh, jeez. Wow. What a flick. Perfect timing as well. Props Obs for managing to get that one. It was a nice transition as well. But, oh no. Oh, surely you spotted the way. Oh no, the decay as well. Oh, so much util. That's just bullying at that point.
Yeah, Zara just his head poked through the window. He's like, hello. But doesn't find the kill, but it does in the end. A teammate's coming through. Alliance, 5th round on the board. A 2-round lead, and they're starting to gain a bit of a lead going forward now. It's becoming a situation for H2O where it was kind of a really good resurgence, but now these inconsistencies are starting to plague them a little bit.
I think that inconsistencies are to be expected, though. And that's what makes this such a... Nice. There's the slow-mo I wanted on round 1. Thanks, production. I think that's what makes this so tough for these two teams, because getting that consistency takes a lot of time together, and to try and make that happen in the sliver of time that they've had together is not easy. Ooh, just escaping by the skin of his teeth there. Of course, his position is known. Now it is off versus off here. Beautiful smoke coming through there from Hardy, and that's going to allow a bit of a stay of execution.
Again, tempo slowed right down here by H2O. Early bit of information spotted towards that B side, but actually the defender's just going to take a step away. It's probably the smart way to play. We've already seen what Sada can do towards Boathouse. They can leave him there and be pretty comfortable in what he can do. So I'm going to deny that early posturing over towards door. One has been spotted though. Nina does need to be careful. Suppression has come through. There's an alarm grenade just on that right-hand side, which is cleared here by Riyad as he wants to try and lead that charge. The crossfires are set up though. They're going to struggle to make their way over towards the A side.
It's a good position to kind of start to back away a little bit. But again, Alliance have played this very patient. They haven't over-rotated unnecessarily, despite the fact that they know that it's looking like an A hit. And there you go. Nilla gets 2 for his troubles. Now it's obvious that it was an A hit. Alex has managed to sneak his way in. Oh no, Sider's in Boathouse. Oh no, no, no.
Uh-oh. Sider in Boathouse. It's a man's best friend. Oh, sorry though. Quick reactions from him. Hardy will fall. It's now down to just 2. But they are making a meal of this. Malfoy will fall as well. Zoran doesn't quite connect the second time of asking. Alex, an operator of his own with just a second on the clock, forced to just fall away. He's all alone as well as Riyad has dropped just after time. And unfortunately, H2O was a nice idea in terms of that rotation, but the execution, not quite there.
Well, Cider didn't even get a chance to have a third go at the Boathouse hold. Unfortunately, H2O just weren't able to get into the site and get that spike anywhere near a potential plant place. Now H2O going to be taking that timeout, and so I gotta say, I believe H2O's coach is Nagi, and I feel like Alliance's coach is doing far better than Nagi is, you know. Desmo in the server, getting those frags, getting those kills. I wanted to do like a head-to-head between the two coaches, but unfortunately, our system would not allow that, and I thought that it would have been top-tier bants. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible. But like, props to Desmo, you know, not bottom of the board. Hell yeah, we take those. Yeah, not bad.
Nice and alright. I mean, 4 and 5, 3 assists. Not exactly the end of the world. As you mentioned, he's playing that support role, right? And as we stand, it's not too bad in terms of his support in the server. A decent start for them, 6 and 3. At the very least, they guarantee that they're going to be kind of drawing at the half. But realistically, I've been very surprised if they're not leading. After this, 7 to be collected. Odin has been picked up as well by Cider.
I do find it interesting, fun to note that H2O are continuing with their very interesting compositional choices. You know, the Omen on Icebox in the last split, the Neon on Ascent. Definitely unexpected. Unfortunately, not quite getting them the results that they would have wanted. And, oh my lord, Cider, what are you doing? Alright, that was a round that Alliance just kind of yeeted in H2O's favor.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate where I think essentially it was a slight overextensions that came through. Sorry, nice trade though on towards Alex. He's making it costly, trying to cause a couple of problems if he can. But it's a tall order and a 2 versus 4 here. They do have the weapons to work with, an Odin and a Phantom collected. Doran, though, doing a brilliant job of exactly what he needs to do. Trying to dash away, the Odin will spam him through. That's what it's brilliant for. And he's down to 1. Just out of Malfoy. 1 versus 3. Recon not will spot him out. He's being spammed from all angles, down 25 points of HP.
Oh, Malfoy.
On a laboured spray, gets punished.
Malfoy's having a bit of a rough one. Also, I would just like to point out the, you know, Malfoy, Harry Potter things. I mean, I instantly dislike him. Dislike him just because of the name. I'm sorry, man. But that's what you get when you name yourself after Malfoy. So, watch it be his actual name or something. Just like insulted him.
So rude, yeah. He's like, oh, okay, well.
If it is your name, I'm sorry. If it's not your name, I'm not sorry. There you go.
There we go.
For legal reasons, I must say that I'm sorry. All right, Alliance, 2-point lead here. They've given themselves at least a tie at the half. Let's see if they can confirm themselves a guaranteed lead as Soren goes very, very aggressively out of mid. Good grief.
1-for-1 as well. Desmo, the coach, stepping up. Hadi will fall. Numbers in favour of Alliance as it's just that quick trade coming through. Nice spam as well for Neela. Yaf will fall. That's important. Spike to go down, which they'll guarantee at the very least. But in a 2 versus 4, you've got to take this favours Alliance here. Everything looking in their favour. This post-spawn really going to struggle to find any sort of backbone to it, especially with lockdown coming on board for Alliance. They can now have comfortability in this site. And for Fake Ananas, I mean, what does he even do in this position?
Oh, I was going to say die, but oh no, the lockdown.
There we go.
I mean, nice try.
Hang on. Oh, I thought for a second when he dropped Malfoy out of the sky, potentially it was there, but no, sorry. He'll try things out. That's Alliance guaranteeing themselves a lead at the half, at the very least. 7-4. Not too bad. Not too bad heading into the final round of the half. Can Alliance find 8 is the question. H2O will have a full buy on board, and of course Alex picking up that operator as well.
I mean, H2O, if they could actually win one more round, that would be pretty decent. But I think that coming into this round, they're going to have next to no credits. Let's see what they have. Oh, no, they're still able to buy in. That's, pretty good news, considering that they didn't have a whole hell of a lot going on for them in this half. They have managed to secure themselves 4 rounds. They're looking for that 5th. They're looking for that just a little bit of a buffer into the second half so that they have something to work with. Yeah, operator online for Alex, and again a very aggressive push into mid, but the fast lane has dissipated.
Well, Malfoy's spraying, but I'm gonna find too much. Cider will though. He's been a problem maker. Because Ria's gonna drop. Again, that number's in their favor. Cider, who was so good at locking out Boathouse, now has to retake Boathouse as that B side looking vulnerable. Spike to go down momentarily, planted by Hadi. Retake. Starting to find a bit of a backbone to it. The question is, can it? Fake Ananas, Flash will come out. Blaze Storm pop by Zoran as well. Going aggressive, good for 1, but only. Yap will trade. Numbers still in their favor. What can they find? A laboured spray by Cider gets punished as Yaf makes it 2. Alex online as well with the operator. Hadi drops Neela, and it's all down to 1 man. Desmo, the coach, has to go huge here. It's asking so much over and from behind. Alex will close things out at the half. 7-5. Alliance, a slim 2-round lead.
Switching sides.
This has been like really strange for me because in map 1, every time I was like, this team could win this round for whatever reason, and then they would lose it. This time, however, every time I'm like, oh, let's see if they can win this one, and then they do. So this has been like some serious caster bless. You're welcome. 7-5 at the half, as you said. Alliance with a fair lead. It's not a super strong, convincing one, but you know what? We will take it and hopefully run away with it. Now, H2O did win the pistol, and unfortunately, despite that, weren't able to convert it into a strong first half. If Alliance can win this pistol, given their performance in the first half, then it should be in the bag. It's all going to be dependent on how strong H2O's defense is.
Yeah, of course. It's kind of, will we get anything shy of what side of it in that first pistol, right? That 3k in Boathouse to close things out for Alliance to pick. I mean, even if we get a slither of that, I'll be impressed because already he's putting on a bit of a performance. Now, over towards the A site, just testing that waters over towards main, peeking their way forward. Bit of a peek coming through as well. Jaff just testing those waters. Won't find too much as we stand. He's just going to make the smart decision just to take a step away. Doesn't want to overextend and be kind of caught open and isolated. A minute left to work with. As Alliance still committing over towards the A side, slowly shifting their way forward. And because they're going sort of quiet as we stand, it hasn't prompted a full rotation yet. And there we go. Front of the way forward. Zoran leads the charge, dashes in. Cloudburst as well for some security. And now they've got complete control of this A site. It's now all about getting that spike down. Alex will take a step away. Doesn't want to overextend. Smart decision from him. Side is going to get that spike down. And now it's all about the retake.
5v5 retake on a pistol round. I can think of very few things quite as absurd. Unfortunately, Jaff not going to be able to make something happen there, but it is going to be an even trade, and time is still ticking away.
Ooh. Okay, Alex as well. Head on to good for 1. As Thrown on 4, so the Cider from above though. Desmo, good for a second. Looking to find any more if he can. He's causing problems. He will fall to the hands of Hadi. Leaves Neela all alone. Trying to deny. Can he is the question. They line up, and all he has to do is buy some time. Jiggle peeking. Off the spike he gets, and that secures the round. Brilliant from him. Hadi will find his 3rd kill, but it does not matter. Round goes in favor of Alliance, and that's what they need. A 2nd pistol in their favor. Both pistols go in the way of Alliance, and they're starting to once again gain an advantage just after one brilliant performance.
No. H2O won the first pistol. And this was my concern. I'm pretty sure they did.
Cider 3K in Bauhaus.
Oh, you're right.
That won the pistol.
I don't know how I forgot that. I don't know how I forgot that. That was literally the most absurd thing I've ever seen.
First pistol round, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, there you go. As you said, both pistols won for Alliance, and oof, okay, 8-5. That runaway lead that we were so worried about seems to be the order of the day. This Neon was rough on the attacking half, and I can't see it doing terribly much more on the defensive half. And Jeff, I mean, he's already been pressured so far away. He's had to make the call back to the rest of the team. Yes, they're on pistols, but unfortunately, yeah, I mean, you can make something happen with a pistol. You got to play that just that little bit more defensively. But a line, oh, jeez, okay, sorry.
Okay. Alex, he's going to be finding an open to that headhunter, doing exactly as the title describes. Cider and Malfoy, they want a piece. No, it's still just tapping that defuse, trying to tempt fate, which is working. Malfoy has to come alive. Still 2 versus 2. Problems are being caused there. Hadi with the shorty finding 1. Malfoy all alone.
No
it's Hadi's shorty to find yet another kill. How have they converted this sort of round with this sort of buy?
I believe in shorty supremacy. I mean, that really shouldn't have gotten as much value as it did. And, you know, I was talking about how Jeff was getting pressured so heavily in towards Tree. And he pulls back, he plays slightly more passively, and he waits for the rest of his team to come back, get into position, and they're able to perform a pretty good retake. And that's really impressive given the fact that they were on a pistol against the Force. They didn't even have to force into that round. So they come into this with quite a bit of cash in the bank. This becomes their Force, and Alliance are back down onto an eco. Now we are seeing the Marshal come out, want to have a little bit of extra firepower. Again, most of the players for H2O are going to have full armor. It's just Hadi that isn't going to have that available. So most of them should survive the one-shot headshot potential of the Marshal. But it can still do a whole chunk of damage, especially if you are followed up by one of your other players. Or if you follow yourself up, you get 2 hits in a row, and that's a player off the board for the enemy team. So it can be absolutely devastating. But H2O do have a huge advantage into this one. The Operator coming out, and the Operator definitely trumps the Marshal.
That's safe to say. Alliance score for that time. I think it's probably a good decision to do exactly that. I mean, that is a tough pill to swallow, isn't it? I mean, where it was a round which is comfortably, or should have been comfortably in their favor because of just a distinct lack of firepower that H2O really had to work with. I mean, a shorty, it can occasionally find a kill, but never should have been able to get away with 2. And a really kind of uncomfortable performance once again, where, you know, for Alliance, they've got individuals stepping up, but the team synergy isn't quite there.
This has been more or less the story of this series so far. Okay, we're still only on map 1, and it has still been pretty close. I think that that's, you know, due to both of these 2 teams being quite scrappy. And unfortunately, they haven't really been able to get much of a lead with weight, right?
Yes,
it always feels like one or the other of the 2 teams is constantly on the heels of the other. That was an unfortunate jump peak attempt. Somehow Desmo's able to come out on top of that one. Not ideal for H2O, but they still do have the advantage in terms of firepower. They have, however, given up a lot of their information, their intel gathering capability.
Well, again, Yaf overextends. Zoran punishes, but look at Jay coming through. Hadi trying to cause more problems. Flash will come through. Will he find any more? Yes, he will. Good for 1. Looks to make another. He somehow makes a 3K. Should have only been able to get away with 1. He makes it 3. The Operator at range comfortably finding Neela. And it leaves Desmo all alone. This is a tough task for him. He's suppressed as well. Has to just fall away. It's a 1 versus 2 for him to do. And with 15 seconds on the clock, I think it's probably safe to say it's a done affair.
10 seconds left.
I hate saying that, but yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, 10 seconds. I mean, you can't even get to a site, surely.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they just kind of waited out, and there you go, up shot. I will say, props to Alliance for keeping it expensive. You know, they came into that with basically nothing. That was H2O's force. So they do really, really well to take away a ton of those guns, so much of that weaponry, and leave H2O fairly weak into the next. Because with this being their force, I mean, they should have... They're not really going to be able to bonus into the next, but there is cash available. So expensive, but not expensive enough. That being said, if they do manage to get 3 or 4 or even a round win here, it should cripple H2O's economy. So Alliance on a bit of a hot streak here to try and bring things back in their favor.
Again, over towards A, they test those waters. It's been quite successful for H2O in terms of closing things out. They've gone aggressive and it's worked in their favor. As we saw previously, never should be able to get away with a 3K for Hardy there. This time, slowing things down. And for Alliance, they don't want to overextend. That was their biggest problem previously. They kind of one by one peaked in and one by one they fell. And that's where we start to see for Alliance kind of their individualistic nature stepping forward. Their like a lack of synergy has been very prevalent, I think it's safe to say. They've got individuals stepping up, but the whole team isn't. Of course, granted, they are playing with a couple of subs and a coach, so I have to say why. Zoran in towards the Cloudburst. Yaf hasn't revealed his position. Labor spray, though, and he gets punished.
Ooh.
Hardy and Faker and Asto, one apiece. Brilliant too, if may I say, as they now double it down brilliantly. He's Cider all alone, and he's pulled off wonders. These are 1 versus 4, and it's going to be done. At range, Alex and an operator ties this game up 8 rounds apiece.
Yeah, H2O looking a lot better here on this defensive half. You know, their attacking half was a little lackluster, and I think that also kind of speaks into the slightly unsynergized nature of these two teams. Their attacking halves, I would argue that you need a little bit more synergy on your attacking half to really make something happen, particularly because so many maps tend to lean into the defender favor. So I think that, you know, H2O now, they have the opportunity to start bringing things back towards themselves. I mean, we already spoke about how the map pool is clearly for these teams that haven't quite gotten their synergy together. Ascent, Bind, Split. These are the perfect maps for these teams that are still working out the kinks. We're at 8 and 8 here between these two teams. I don't think it could get any closer than it is right now. Alliance back down onto a pistol. They really wanted to win that last round, but unfortunately H2O just not going to allow it. And oh, that's Nilla off the board. That's not good for Alliance. That's bad news.
No, not what they wanted. I think it's safe to say. Not the start either. Because arguably their kind of their biggest point of firepower immediately dropped off the board. And for H2O, this could be them pushing towards that 9th on the board pretty comfortably as well. Kind of with this sort of buy for Alliance, it's about trying to make it as expensive as possible. And I don't think they're going to be able to do too much. Spam from Desmo. Damage dealt, but not the frag. Alex will be able to fall away. And he can start to recenter himself as, again, they're pushing back over towards the A side, which they've had plenty of trouble with.
Oh boy, and the biggest issue is, of course, A site is so heavily defended right now. Now that's going to give away a little bit of information, so they do know that there are some players nearby, but that should have been somewhat of a given. It does mean that they aren't able to ingress because they don't have abilities available. That will fade. And now, okay, there you go. Unfortunate. Alliance, just, they do get the plant, so there's that little bit of extra cash. But can this post-plant actually net anything?
That's the question. Yaf, though, not about a retake from him. Cider good for one on his own, but only. Yaf makes it a double. And it's Malfoy. Marshall in hand in a 1 versus 4. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. Probably safe to say this might be done. Hang on a second. Problems caused. That will be dropped as well as he wants to try and deny that pressure. Paddy will hold down the fort, and Riyadh can comfortably get that defuse on the board. 9th round for H2O, and for the first time, I think this entire game, they take a lead.
No, second time. They got to 4-3. Yeah,
no, correct.
See, I'm not the only one that forgets things. Do be like that sometimes, you know. But yeah, second time in the series. They do manage to get themselves a little bit of a lead, but we know what happened the last time. Alliance quickly turned things back around in their favor. Now, H2O do still have a few ultimates to use, so you know, there's still potential here for them, and I'm particularly going to be looking forward to seeing Daff's ultimate, because I think that that can be incredibly powerful if utilized right. But what is this aggression?
Okay.
Alex! And they're clearly expecting it, and Soren just domes him.
You know, sometimes when things aren't going your way, you just need someone to step up, and that's not a bad way to do it. Zoran, stunner of an opener, man advantage in their favor now for H2O. I just think they were just caught completely off guard like a deer in headlights. Didn't expect that sort of aggression to come through. And now, with a lead in H2O's favor, the numbers aren't as they're going over towards the A site, which is so far looking barren.
Now, you say that, but there's... Okay, there you go. There's a trap there, but there's now also a smoke, so that's going to slow things down. And there's a potential lurk coming through mid as well. Now, it's very likely they're going to double back through tree and create a bit of a crossfire. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a pincer come out. But there's going to be the Cosmic Divide, something we don't see terribly often. Oh my god, so many ults.
All being utilized right here, right now, around our A team. Swinging their way forward. Oh, it's a stunner of a hole from H2O as well. For Alliance, that was potentially looking like the round for them. The one that potentially could turn the tides with that opener from Zoran. But no, H2O, what a way to turn things around.
He threw so much into that. Oh, man. They used KO. They used Fade. All of that dropped down. And unfortunately, off the back of just the Cosmic Divide, H2O are able to dodge so much of the rest of the ultimates coming in at them, and they just clean up as the players of Alliance start pushing through a very questionable wall. Because as you push through it, you can't see what's on the other side. You're running straight into the enemy team, and they get absolutely annihilated. And now H2O, with the continued crazy aggression, we're finally seeing that Neon ult coming out. It has managed to get one. With Alliance on a pistol, I don't see them getting too much done here.
Enemy remaining. Spike down A.
Yeah, with a triple, I think that more or less confirms things. Malfoy, 1 versus 4. Hey, not a bad shot though. How do you all fall? Flash will come through. Brilliant. Pre-fire from Alex. All he had to do was hold down the line, and he does oh so well. And everything on the board, H2O 2 rounds away now from closing out map number 1. And what was looking like a kind of not the greatest of starts, I think is probably one way to put it. The resurgence has been fantastic.
I mean, this is what I was saying. I really felt like their defensive side would be stronger just because of the fact that this is a newer 5 stack, both of these two teams. And so you tend to get slightly better results on your defensive side. Look, I'm not saying that you can lean into it and it's going to be a huge thing, but you know that Alliance is going to struggle. You know that you're going to have a slight favor, and they're doing really well at pressing that. Now, again, we're seeing some serious aggression here. Paolo's going to come out and force him off of his angle. That's going to create some space for Alliance to push through. But look at this. Instantly, some more util comes out to try to slow things down a little bit. H2O playing this defense very well.
Deploying drone.
It's very slow. Very methodical. I mean, H2O, they don't need to overextend. They've been quite aggressive at times, especially Yaf, right? He kind of looks like the opener, tries to go aggressive, especially over towards kind of A main, for example. But this time, it's that kind of slower posturing. They can pretty comfortably leave Alex on his own to just hold down the fort, which is what he's doing right now. He's eyeing things up quite nicely. Won't be tested at the moment, but he might be in a moment's time. As that smoke dissipates, he's going to be in for a bit of a troublesome hold over towards short. And it's easier than done with just an operator. Tough to multi-frag with. As Malfoy going forward, finds one and falls away. Brilliant from him. Alex, that's the perfect way to play it. Swing coming through, takes a pop shot through the smoke, won't quite connect. Cloudburst on towards the site as Zoran just gets that space on his own. The Killjoy lockdown to come through from the attack inside of Alliance. Spike will be dropped by the Shock Dart of Rhea. This is all just monumental over towards the A site.
Spike planted.
Alright, so this is still winnable, I think. You know, Alliance have to hold a very strong post plant here, but H2O just cannot allow it to happen, it seems.
No, not at all. Neela playing in the walls, and it works. Yaf's own utility used against him. Spam coming through, though. Alex will find Zora, and leaves Nilo all alone in a 1 versus 4. Here's a Sound Key's good for the first. Looking to make it 2 as well. Won't be able to connect. And he will trade. That's H2O to find themselves at 12. Match point and 1 map away. 1 round away, I must say, from taking map number 1.
Well, they're 1 round away from being 1 map away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that works. This is going to be rough for Alliance because obviously this was their buy round. And I'm not too sure. I mean, I think the credits are going to be a little bit rough coming into this next one. You would have liked to have come out on a very, very strong buy. There you go. You got Malfoy, unfortunately, only on half armor. It's not ideal. They've had to sacrifice a little bit here to keep themselves alive and in this game. They do, however, still have an ultimate or 2 to play with, so that could stand them in good stead. H2O have used most of theirs. They only have the Hunter's Fury really to play with here, and while that can be an absolutely devastating ultimate, there are ways of getting around it, and this A site, again, relatively unguarded. This is doable.
On the way forward as well. Hardy going to be suppressed and just fully concussed. Not exactly where he wants to be. Asada comes up for 1. Looking to make it another, but it's Zoran stepping up. These are the entries that Alliance needed to find a bit of success. Alex will step up in his own regard. He has been marked as well. And just to fall away. Hunter's Fury online. Trying to deny that spike going down. And in comes Alex swinging forward off the back of that utility. Off the back of the Hunter's Fury. Finding himself 1, but only. Spike goes down. Now we're at 2 versus 3. This retake for H2O not got too much of a backbone to work with. But Neela might have just been spotted. I think his gun barrel was. No. Yaf, he's pulled his attention away. And at range, Cider finds 1. Leaves it all down to 1. Riyadh, 1 versus 3. I know exactly where he's approaching from as well. It's such a tough task from him. Recon dart to support as well as he's trying to find a bit of a backbone. The Swamp Grenade will deny that presence. And that's the round done and dusted, more or less. A 9th to be collected by Alliance. And it gives them a lifeline, Sam.
It keeps them in it. And that's definitely what was necessary here. And at least they do manage to keep 3 of their rifles. And, you know, given what the economy looked like in the previous round, yeah, you can tell that that was needed. Even now, coming into this one, I mean, it's not going to be perfect by any measure. Thankfully, they've managed to buy into a little bit more util than they had in the previous round, so they got that going for them. Malfoy still, unfortunately, on half armor, but they're still in it. They're still alive, and they've still got so much to play for. They pulled out the Hunter's Fury as well, so they know that that's not going to be available on the board. Cider's 1 ult orb away from having the Nightmare. So we could see that come into play here, although it hasn't been terribly impactful thus far. Let's see if they can make that work for them. You know, just to keep them alive in this series.
I mean, as we stand, this is kind of a situation that Alliance have been in time and time again. As you said, they had to pick up a map. This could be the first time you see H2O pick up a map. Not a start for Yap either. Zoran will fall, looking to find 1 more, and that could be starting to put the final nail in the coffin. It's really looking not too great. Fear will come through. Hadi, though, dropping outside, and at least Desmo, the coach, all alone in a 1 versus 3, and this is unfortunately looking like a done affair. It was a brilliant performance from H2O, but Desmo needs something special here. May have just spotted Fake Ananas as well as he way forward, swinging in, finds the first. Good for it as well. 40 seconds to work with in a 1 versus 2. Sam, this is doable.
Is it though? He doesn't have the spike.
30
All
seconds.
about that flank, right? Yeah, they are posted up. They are posted up. I mean, this will take something special. And with 20, just over 20 seconds left on the clock, I think this is, yeah, it's done. I mean, Desmo, nowhere to be seen. He goes for the teleport.
Wait, he got
nice
it.
idea.
What?
Oh my god, he got it. Desmo, that's brilliant. He teleported and picked up Desmo. That's so smart. Genius from him. Spike goes down, and now we're in a completely different scenario.
Dude, if Desmo clutches this, I swear to God, I will absolutely lose it. The fact that he's able to get that with the teleport, and he does the rotation all the way over towards the B site to make sure that he's going to be able to plant it. They're not able to stop him. He could clutch this. It's going to be tough. Oh, is it going to be rough? Oh, and he just can't make it happen. One of the smartest plays we've seen in quite some time, and unfortunately just not enough.
I mean, it's a really, really nice attempt, right? The idea was there. Unfortunately, the execution wasn't quite. Does get it that spike down, so we can give him the credit for that. But I mean, we've got to give the credit to H2O. First time this split, we've seen H2O pick up a map as they lead the series 1-0 for Alliance. It started so well, Sam, but the finish just wasn't quite there. When they went into their attacking side, they did struggle a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this was something we'd mentioned a couple of times. Oh man, not this again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have nightmares about this for the rest of my life. But on the attacking half, when you haven't nailed down as much synergy as you would like as a team, you're going to struggle a little bit. There's a lot of tactical thought that has to go into the attacking side. Not that there isn't on the defensive side, but personally, I just think that the attacking side tends to lean a little bit more into that. So we would have liked to have seen a bigger buffer from Alliance on their defensive half if they wanted to come into this, into the second half and win it out. It's actually H2O who, despite a very slow start, were able to turn it around incredibly well for themselves. Like, very, very impressive stuff from this H2O squad. Some great tenacity shown here, and they are able to clinch out their first map, not just in this series, but in Polaris. Not as a whole, they did get a few in the promotion tournament, but this is the first time in the main event where they're able to pick up a map. And that is massive, because that means that there is the possibility here that they're able to pick up a second and maybe even a whole series. Alliance, however, this is the perfect moment for them to bounce back. And realistically, they have to. I saw Alliance in the chat. They're saying that Cider's mental is solid. We'll have to see if that's actually going to be true.
Yeah, exactly. There's a very, very good performance from him. 1.9 KDA, 19 kills, and 238 ACS. But over towards the other side, Hadi, 2.4 KDA, 22 kills, and 274 ACS with the MVP performance for him for H2O. 39. It's a really, really solid performance. And it's unfortunate, for Alliance, what started so well, unfortunately, it ended so poorly. They couldn't quite find their footing, their comfortability on their attacking side, and their victories and their successes were few and far between.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a bit of a rough one for the start at the very least, but let's see how this progresses into the second map, because bearing in mind, obviously, we got to see Alliance start on the defensive side this time around, but on map 2, we're going to get to see H2O start on defense. So we might actually see a little bit of a reversal of fortune here. If Alliance can show a strong enough attacking half just to create a buffer, they don't necessarily need to go into the half at a lead, but if they can give themselves a strong buffer so that when the tides turn, when the sides swap, they're able to bring it home. Our second map's going to be Bind, and there is quite a bit of tactical maneuvering involved there, but bearing in mind they've got Coach Desmo on their side, who comes up with the craziest plays, and unfortunately it didn't work out, but he has been playing incredibly well, despite the fact that he is a coach, despite the fact that he is a sub. He's really been pulling his own weight, so let's see if he can continue that and kind of pull his team to a victory on map 2.
Exactly that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw this one to a quick break. When we are back, map number 2 comes up, and Alliance backs against the wall. Let's see how they respond. We'll see you after the break.
Hey, my name is Jaff. I'm the controller player for H2O.
My name is Hadi. I play for H2O and I'm the in-game leader of the team.
So we've changed 4 players and the coach. Originally, we tried to actually keep a core 3, but obviously it didn't work out. So we just had to re-qualify under the H2O brand, and I guess it kind of worked out. I'm really happy with the team, how it is now, and the people we have.
I joined H2O as well as the 3 other new players about a week ago actually. So we've only had about a week of practice, and then we obviously did our best to qualify, and we did.
We didn't drop a map until the semi-finals. Once it started getting to the promotion tournament, it started getting really intense. Like, we lost the first game to Ukars, which we should have won.
I think in terms of my personal rivals, I think a good friend of mine, Cider, is definitely a rival I want to beat. And then the team who cast, they beat us in the promotional tournament, so I definitely want to give my revenge.
I'd say as a team, I wouldn't say they are rivals, but I mean, I've lost to Ukars twice now. You know, I lost to one in the promotional and one in the normal season, and you know, twice is enough. Yeah, we're gonna beat them in the regular season. We're definitely gonna beat them. Like, I'm not losing to them 3 times.
I think in our team we have the perfect pieces on every role, but I think if I had to pick out a player, it would obviously be Alex. He's our star player, and I think people are looking at the stats, and obviously they're impressive, but what people are not seeing is that he's also a really, really smart player.
Taddy, he's an amazing IGL, and I think he will excel at the higher level. So I think coming to the VRO is kind of just like his playground, and I think he's going to really help us succeed in VRO.
In terms of our goal for Split 2, I don't think we have a specific goal, but obviously we want to try to win as many games as possible.
Split 2, I think the goal is to get playoffs. I mean, honestly, personal goal, let's get a win. You know, let's get that. Let's get 1 win on the board, and let's get an interview after the game. But for the team, I think definitely we want to make playoffs. I think we've got the players to do it, and definitely I think we can get playoffs to even win it maybe.